Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today I'm talking about Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe. This is a remaster of a Nintendo Wii game. I've never played the original Wii game, so I can't tell you too much about the differences between these two versions. I can say that it probably looks a lot better playing this deluxe version, but in terms of additional content, I'm not exactly sure what has been added. In this game, a mysterious individual named Magolor's ship crash lands on planet Popstar, and it's up to Kirby and friends to help repair his ship to get him back to his world. Magolor is some kind of like mysterious wizard, interdimensional traveler, and so every time you are collecting these parts and energies, he's always encouraging you and saying like, oh, thank you so much, I'm going to take you back to my world once we finish building the ship and you can see what I'm all about. So 5 parts of his ship have been broken off, and there are 5 different worlds on planet Popstar. So it's pretty much what you would expect for a traditional 2D platforming game. You go to the world, you do the 4 or 5 different levels, and then you face off against the boss, and after you fight the boss, then you get the part for the ship, and then you get to go navigate to the next world. Now this all does take place on planet Popstar. You're not navigating to different planets. When I say world here, I mean more like a theme of levels. And the themes are fairly traditional in terms of 2D platformers. You have your woodsy levels, your water levels, lava levels, ice levels, pretty much what you would expect here. In addition to these ship parts, you are also trying to collect these energy spheres, and there are a certain amount hidden in each level, and it tells you ahead of time. So you're looking between like 3 to 5 different energy spheres, and these are, think similar to like the big coins in a Mario game. Sometimes they're one-off little puzzles that you have to solve, or they are hidden in a certain way. They were never too difficult to find, however, and these types of collectibles add an extra level of challenge to Kirby games and Yoshi games. So if you're more of an experienced gamer, I think it would add a level of interest to you and engagement in order to hunt out these collectibles, because they aren't incredibly obscure or frustrating to find. They're just like an extra little additional challenge, and it also helps pad out the gameplay, because this Kirby game is extremely short. In each world, you're looking at about 4 or 5 different levels and then a boss. And in previous Kirby games that I've played, usually there's like secret levels that you can access, and there's additional content. And there is additional content in this game as well, in the form of like mini games. But in terms of like extra levels, you don't get a lot here besides the post-game stuff, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But I was able to beat the main game, including collecting all of the energy spheres 100% in the course of maybe like 4 hours. So super short game. You could potentially play this all in one setting. These spheres unlock, I think, additional like mini games, I believe. I can't quite remember exactly what they unlocked. Just go for them anyway. As you play through these levels, you can encounter these tickets, and these tickets are like currency to purchase new masks for Kirby. And it is nice having some kind of aesthetical thing that you can change on Kirby. I did prefer the look of just plain Kirby rather than him wearing a mask, but these masks are fun little references to like previous Kirby characters or the enemies or the bosses that you encounter in this game. So it is fun having something additional to purchase and look out for. Magolor Land also features like little mini games and challenge rooms and things like that. I didn't spend too much time in Magolor Land, but it's like this whole circus-y kind of theme. The thing that really made this Kirby game stand out during the Wii era is it was a multiplayer Kirby game. The first one that you could play multiplayer in the main story, I believe. And so Kirby's friends include Meta Knight, Spear, Waddle Dee, and King Dedede. I don't believe you can play as these characters playing single player, however. You are pretty much having to have at least one person play as Kirby, and then the additional characters could play as the friends, which is a little bit of a bummer, but because I really like Meta Knight, and I think it would be cool to play through a couple levels as Meta Knight, but I suppose you just become Sword Kirby and pretend that you're Meta Knight, I guess. As you're playing through these levels, collecting the these energy spheres. Some of these energy spheres can be a little frustrating to collect because you pretty much get like one chance to collect them, and then if you happen to miss out on them or go to a different room or your pathway gets blocked off, you have to replay the whole level. There's no way to restart just this section that you're in. And this didn't happen a whole lot, and like I said, most of these energy spheres are easy to pick up, so it's not like you're going to miss them if you're actually actively trying to collect them. But it is frustrating that in some cases, you know, you're 3/4 of the way into a level, you miss one of these energy spheres and you cannot progress backwards, and so you have to restart the whole level. But at that point, it's not like the levels are too long anyway, and if you are already fairly familiar with the level, you can cruise through them in just a matter of a couple minutes. Some of these energy spheres are blocked behind these mini bosses called sphere doomers, and while the idea is pretty cool, after you face off against your 10th sphere doomer, this can feel fairly repetitive. They do try to mix it up sometimes by giving the playing field some drop-offs or some water or some ice, but you're still facing against this same mini boss over and over again, which can be fairly repetitive. Before you face off against these sphere doomers, you play these areas where this impending wall of doom is kind of like slowly following you, and if you touch it, then you die. And so you're trying to navigate quickly through these obstacles as Kirby while this impending wall of doom is following behind you. And this is actually fairly fun and adds a little bit of intensity. I did find that the wall of doom kind of rubber bands, and in the case that if you navigate super far ahead of it, then it will launch itself fairly close to you and move pretty fast. But if you do kind of hover around the wall of doom, then it moves fairly slowly. So it gives this illusion of tension, and it's getting close to you, you better hurry. But I feel like it's actually giving you a lot more leeway than you would originally think based on the proximity to Kirby. They do some interesting things with this and in the main levels where if Kirby has a key, he cannot puff up and fly, or he cannot use any of his abilities. So you're basically just doing very careful platforming, because if you miss a ledge as Kirby, normally you would just be able to like puff off and go back to the ledge. But if you're holding a key, then that's game over, you lose a life. But that's not really a big deal. I had plenty of lives by the end of the game. I want to say 50 or 60, because Kirby really isn't that difficult of a game. Another big feature about this game is the ability to get like these souped up versions of abilities. Every once in a while you will encounter an enemy that has this like glowing aura around them, and basically it just gives like an overpowered version of that ability for a temporary amount of time. So if I inhaled one of these overpowered sword abilities, Kirby would swing around like a giant weapon and basically eliminate all the enemies on the screen. If you absorb like a super ice ability, then you can basically turn into a giant snowball and roll and jump as you navigate these hills, and you try to jump into all the enemies and hit all the enemies in one go. So little things like that, which are always fun. Another thing that they added are like tools. Now, this isn't the only Kirby game that has tools in addition to abilities, but these are kind of fun. Like one, you got a cannon that is just constantly launching an overhead lob ball cannon to destroy all the enemies. Another one is like almost like a magical umbrella that protects you from things falling above. The candle, so you're in a super dark room and you have to hold the candle to navigate around and not fall off the ledge. So little things like that help mix it up. But again, this game can feel a little repetitive over time. It's not that long of a game though, so it isn't really that big of a problem. The music is fun and playful as always. If you ever played a Kirby game, you kind of know what to expect in this department. Now, overall, this game is fairly short, about 4 hours. You're looking at maybe 7 different worlds, and each world has about 4 or 5 different levels to it. So you can pretty much beat it in one sitting. After you beat the main game though, this is where the game really shines, because you get to play as Magolor in this after the events of the first game. And I'm not going to say exactly what happened in the main game because I don't want to spoil anything, but after the events of the main game, Magolor is in rough shape and he's kind of lost in this weird interdimensional world, and you get to play as Magolor, but he lost all his powers, and so you have to build up his powers once more. His clothes are in tatters, he's gray, he basically only has this one little energy blast that he can launch ahead of him, but it is a fairly short range and it doesn't do that much damage. And so you're playing as Magolor, navigating through all of these different levels, and the cool thing about this is you can collect this currency in order to upgrade Magolor, and you get some choice here. So one makes his blast like launch farther, the other one makes it so he can launch energy blasts upwards in the air and they do different things, or you can make it so he can like teleport and phase in and out of existence. And so as you're playing through this game, you're really encouraged to collect all of these additional resources. He can't really like puff up and fly like Kirby, but he can like hover up slowly and then he falls back down to the ground, and so you can upgrade like how long he can kind of hover up in the air. So it's fun and it's rewarding, and it's probably the best part about this whole game is this Magolor's epilogue. And it's actually a fairly big chunk of time compared to the main game. I want to say the main game took about 4 hours, Magolor's epilogue took about 3 hours, and fairly challenging as well. There were times when I was on the edge of my seat facing off against these bosses because it's not like Dark Souls hard, but compared to like a traditional Kirby game, this is the level of challenge that I really tend to enjoy. Enough to keep me super engaged, but not enough to have me feeling frustrated. Another cool feature about this Magolor's epilogue is the combo system. So you have like a brief amount of time to damage another block or an enemy to run up your combo meter. And the higher your combo goes up, the more of these resources you gather to upgrade Magolor. And so you're kind of incentivized to rush through these levels to keep up your combo meter. But if you get hit or if a set amount of time passes, then your combo ends. And so that is an additional way to like kind of add a challenge to your gameplay without making the actual game challenging. It's kind of like a self-challenge system, and I would love it if they just added these combo systems to a regular Kirby game just to keep things a little more interesting. I think it would also work fairly well for Yoshi games as well, this combo system. And then in terms of like the RPG system, upgrading your character, I think that's really fun as well because it feels like you're constantly making improvements to your character and making him stronger and more awesome. Overall, I had a lot of fun playing Kirby. I always do. Kirby is my favorite Nintendo character. Maybe not my favorite Nintendo games, but I can't think of a Kirby game that I played that I didn't end up enjoying a lot. I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5, especially because of that Magolor's epilogue. I think the base game would be more of a 3 out of 5, but the Magolor's epilogue just raises up a whole nother level. And the games are short enough that I never really felt burnt out playing any of it. Well guys, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye!